My name is Zain Ali. I was born and raised in the GTA in the Greater Toronto area in Canada. I am pursuing this field of study because it's of the most meritorious things to study and to spend your time doing. I've been studying 6 years so far. 4 years I studied locally, and the last 2 years I've been studying in Istanbul, Turkey, with Syrian mashayikh, with Syrian scholars. My journey began when I was young. I was homeschooled at the age of 8. I went to Hifz to memorize the Quran. I completed my memorization of the Quran around close to the age of 12. Thereafter, I was homeschooled till high school, did high school, and then I studied locally in the GTA with several scholars for 4 years prior to moving to Turkey. One's studies don't really end ever, but my formal studies, I would like to give at least another 3 years before focusing on other aspects, whether it be teaching or whatnot. A scholar is someone who really knows a matter completely. Alongside that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about the scholar in the Quran, He talks about a person who has fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the scholar, there's a inwardly aspect, which is that he has the state of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then there's also the aspect that he has knowledge of a matter. Mm-hmm. The community benefits from having a large number of scholars in the same way it benefits from having a large number of schools, a large number of hospitals. And we see this, when there's a large number of schools, the literacy rate is higher. A large number of hospitals, the health of the people is better. And the same thing with a large number of scholars. A scholar, his focus, his concern, his goal is the well-being of the people, whether it be spiritually, but not just limited to their spiritual benefit, but also their physical and mental and everything, because that all relates to the spiritual aspect. Mm-hmm. So here we have a person who really is focused on teaching people how to live their life, mm-hmm. be the best Muslim that they can be. And I see this in my locality, not my locality, but in a locality in Turkey, in Istanbul, in the Fatih area, which is where most scholars live. And this area, you see, people are generally more connected to their deen. They have a higher understanding of the basics of their deen, and they live in a more conscious manner. And that's not just because of the Syrian mashayikh, but that there's a lot of Turkish scholars that live in that area as well. And so, as a whole, a large number of scholars has benefited that community. And this is what my teachers used to tell me about what Syria was like. The khutbahs in Syria were not about basic concepts. They were actually often about more advanced concepts, more advanced in relation to what we're used to, because the literacy rate of people when it came to their deen was much higher. They had a daily connection with the deen, a weekly connection. Not everyone, of course, but there was this culture of learning their deen. You take a nice hard look around masjids, people arguing, moon sighting every year, we hear it. I think this is what happens when there's a lack of scholarship. There's a lot of ignorance, there's a lot of confusion. People every year ask the same questions about moon sighting. And that's because there's a lack of answers, or there's not enough answers for the amount of questions. So what does a lack of scholarship entail? It entails ignorance, it entails confusion. All things that we want to get rid of. The best example of this, I think, is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his goal was to teach the deen, was to teach people how to live their faith. And the Sahabas, what was their attitude towards the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Their attitude was one of complete support in anything that the Prophet ﷺ needed. When it was time to go to battle, they sacrificed their lives. When there was need for funds, we see this in the example of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala an. He gave away everything. And Sahabas were always giving. Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala an, when there was a famine, he came with a caravan and gave it all for free. So whenever there was a need, the Sahabas gave everything that they could to the Prophet ﷺ. And this is the same relationship. The scholar, his concern is the spiritual well-being of the community. How can I help the community be better Muslims? And I think then the community's reaction has to be with the scholar. How can I help you do your job? How can I support you in the work that you're doing? There's different, I think, ways that students need help, but I think the most practical thing is the financial support. The students, often don't have the financial support. Many people aren't able to study or aren't able to study as much as they would like to because of financial constraints, whether it be rent, food, groceries, but also classes, because school classes are not always free. So I think financial support is probably the biggest factor that we need to be mindful of. Yeah, and I'm going to use the same example again. It's the same. It's like establishing many hospitals. It's like establishing schools. When we establish these types of awqaf, of endowments, of organizations, we allow people to do their job without any stress. Imagine a doctor who's doing your surgery, but he's thinking about his second job. I would be scared to go into surgery with a doctor who's thinking about how to make his ends meet. But that is the reality of, I would say, the mass majority of scholars today. They are doing their job with a second job and sometimes even a third job. I have a teacher, he's one of the best teachers I've seen in the subject of fiqh. He has a honey business on the side. He sells honey. He also does graphic arts, and he works on that as well. And he also sells clothes. Like he's working several jobs just to make his ends meet. And that's why this is important. We want scholars to do their job without having to worry about doing it properly. Just like you want your doctor to do your surgery without having to worry about anything else. Just like you want your school teacher for your kids to do his job without worrying about anything else. That's why this is important.